An anti-mental health guide, Psychology as a Science of Human Behavior is a Fraud. Anti-mental health introduction. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, or a hell of heaven. John Milton, Paradise Lost 1667. If you want to know how almost the entire human race has been hoodwinked into thinking there are authoritative scientific fields that know something deep and advanced about the human condition and human behavior, as in psychology, psychiatry, mental health, self-help, etc., read this book, which tells you it's a lie, because human beings are all stuck alone in their own heads and everybody is so suspicious of each other that people are rarely honest enough to talk about what they're really thinking and feeling. So that's where life is, a bunch of loners, no one that advanced that they have special knowledge about what others are thinking and feeling. Every human being lives alone in their own head, known to no one but themselves. All human lives are solitary journeys. Nobody knows or will ever know what anyone else is thinking. Every human interaction in the world with another person or group of people is unique to those people and their moods at that moment. Because of all this, there is no such thing as a science of human behavior except as a big fiction that all the people in this field buy into, either because they're playing along to keep their job or they're truly brainwashed by this big deception that there's a science of human behavior with neatly defined categories of mental illness in their big book called the DSM/Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Do you believe you have a subconscious mind? If you answer yes, why? Because they drilled it into you in Psychology 101 as the cornerstone of the field of psychology, that we repress and hide 90% of who we are from ourselves. Why would any sane person hide anything from themselves? It's a great way for a so-called therapist to make money. Keep mulling over your hidden self or your past, even though it doesn't mean a thing, because you create your life as you live it. And that thing about dreams is a lie too. Sometimes I dream about whatever I'm thinking about and dealing with. My brain analyzes it while I sleep. It's called incubation. Sometimes I dream about things from my past. Sometimes I dream about totally ridiculous fantasies. In the grand scheme of things, dreams don't mean a thing. All that matters is my waking thoughts and actions. There's a multi-billion-dollar mental health industry infrastructure that goes all the way to the schools with that big ADHD scam and the billions of dollars they make from selling Ritalin. They even have infant mental health counselors now. We don't need clinical-sounding, unemotional academic dunces who try to act advanced and insist on putting everyone into one of their phony mental health categories. All we get at the best of times is two people interacting with each other. We need warm-hearted, feeling, compassionate people to deal with the lost, lonely, broken down souls, not this crap we got now where they stick a label on you right away, give you lots of drugs, give a lot of people who they say are depressed electroconvulsive therapy, and just leave people sitting there either in a mental health ward, or if they got money, they come in for hired friendship once a week at $100 or more an hour. It's all a big fraud. The problem is that almost everyone in society buys into it. This book sheds light on the big mental health industry deception and explains life as it is, just you and your true nature and whoever you're dealing with right now. That's it. All that stuff in those psychology textbooks and all those journals is a big bunch of junk, just like the kid in the fairy tale The Emperor's New Clothes pointed out that the emperor was wearing no clothes while all his bumbling advisors were pretending to admire them. Chapter 1. Psychology, a bunch of phonies pretending to have deep, advanced knowledge about life. I don't care about the meaningless psychobabble, I care that people believe in this stuff, then get on mental health drugs and buy into what the fake guru, psychologist, psychiatrist, says. On February 19, 1909, Beers, along with philosopher William James and psychiatrist Adolf Meyer, embraced that future by creating the National Committee for Mental Hygiene, later the National Mental Health Association, and what we know today as the Mental Health America. These people had good intentions, but they failed because they wanted to create the mental health industry to parallel the medical industry with clear, specific disorders/diseases, which you cannot do because everybody is a unique loner. Money got into it, it became all about money, The more people you say are nuts or have mental problems in some way, the more money you make. The drug companies pretend they can solve human mental misery with drugs. It's just like the novel Brave New World predicted, get everybody pacified on drugs so you can control them. Human mental misery is always an artifact of the individual human soul. We live artificial lives in this artificial society we have created for ourselves. Never forget that we are creatures of nature. We all have a pure, unique, true nature. Am I a maverick nutcase, a narcissistic egomaniac fighting against this massive established formal mental health psychobabble industry? No, at least one wise man from within the system agrees with me. blogs.scientificamericans.com/crisis-mental-health-director-rejecs-psychiatric-and-bible-with-replaces-with-nothing, by John Horgan on May 4, 2013. Now, in a move sure to rock psychiatry, psychology, and other fields that address mental illness, the director of the National Institutes of Mental Health has announced that the federal agency, which provides grants for research on mental illness, will be reorienting its research away from DSM categories. Thomas Insel's statement. The weakness is its lack of validity. Unlike our definitions of ischemic heart disease, lymphoma, or AIDS, the DSM diagnoses are based on a consensus about clusters of clinical symptoms, not any objective laboratory measure. Patients with mental disorders deserve better. Insel said that the NIMH will be replacing the DSM with the research domain criteria, RDC. Science20.com/science_20/NIMH_delivers_kill_shot_DSM5-111138. NIMH.nih.gov/about/director/2013/transforming-diagnosis.html. Get the guts to do the right thing. Tell the truth. Watch the movie V for Vendetta. Create an organization and Facebook group called True Psychology. Tell Psychology Today they're a bunch of puff daddies. Tell them to delete all their cutesy articles and focus on the truth. Stop using those textbooks, journals, and the DSM. Teach people that they all have their own soul with its own beauty. Show examples of human beauty, greatness, inspiration, and passion as lived through individuals, not this crap about Albert Bandura concluding that children imitate negative adult behavior. No, they're just having fun hitting the Brutus punching bag doll. They'll forget it in a day. It's fake science. They hide behind that matrix of mental disorders rather than realize that everybody is a unique person who should be treated that way. PsychologyToday.com is at about the same level as Self.com and Elle.com, cute frivolous articles about nothing much in particular. Why I rejected the world's wisdom. The so-called system-sanctioned wise people in the non-scientific liberal arts fields, sometimes called social scientists, which is an oxymoron, have firstly all been programmed by some limited agenda at some school, and secondly not one has been brave enough or strong enough to live their lives freely and examine themselves as a case study of one. If they did, they wouldn't be a system clone pretending they know something that the regular people don't know with all that crap they learned in school masquerading as knowledge and wisdom. They'd be living their own lives for the great adventure it's supposed to be, at least for truly free, enlightened people. Contrary to the myth, the most free-thinking intellectuals within the human race are not on college campuses because formal education packages thought into separate fields and categories, then limits it in light of the current cultural zeitgeist, aka political correctness. The true free-thinking intellectuals are way too free and enlightened to waste time bothering with this charade. They're too busy being real with themselves, trying to get the most out of their finite lives, than to pretend they're wise intellectuals just because they allowed themselves to get brainwashed by the system in order to get some kind of credential proclaiming them to be an expert in some liberal arts field of life. The system academics in the humanities fields can spew off all kinds of theories, but many have never been out of their comfort zones even once in their lives to try to experience life for themselves in order to feel it and learn from it, yet we call them our wise people because they can regurgitate stuff from books written by other fallible people within the protocols of the particular academic field they're in. It's somebody else's version of knowledge and wisdom that somebody who has not experienced it firsthand is teaching out of a book. The formal education system has created such academic fields as psychology, philosophy, art history, and sociology, which are just ideas some people created out of thin air who are no more special or divine than you or me. Even history is a load of bull because history is whitewashed crap written by the winners of the wars and the people in power, not the truth. In fact, all the soft-core humanities disciplines like literature, political science, art, etc. are somebody's interpretation of what is real, cool, divine and/or wise. A little piece of knowledge from these areas might hit a certain student and inspire him or her to become a better version of themselves, but there's nothing out there in college or anywhere else except for a few new age venues where they tell you to think for yourself. Figure your own life out. If they did, maybe they would lose revenue as people stopped taking all those softball liberal arts courses that usually amount to no great insights about life as lived. The problem with college for the liberal arts is brainwash. They're brainwashing us to whatever bent the particular professor or school is into. On top of that, your thinking is reduced to one field only. You can't bring other free thoughts in from other subjects, and then there's the pretense that it's science with all them stupid experiments and the whole definition of knowledge thing. Albert Bandura, professional psychologist, gets one of his college students to hit a Brutus doll while some kids watch. The college student leaves, the kids hit the bag. Bandura says this is proof that kids learn to be violent by imitating adults. What really happened is that the kids were having some transient fun which they would forget by tomorrow. Hansi Znek, a professional psychologist, creates some test that supposedly measures how introverted or extrovert you are, but he seems to forget that introversion-extroversion is transitory in everyone. We are introverted or extrovert depending on our current mood and the situation we're in. If we're with friends, we're extrovert. If we're with strangers, we're more reserved. It's manufactured knowledge that has no bearing on real life in the real world. Nobody ever talks about the natural intrinsic thirst for knowledge for its own sake. Somewhere along the way the love of learning got lost. It's all packaged into fields, courses, tests, essays, the final grade and credentials, but there is no such thing as a so-called expert in any non-scientific field because everybody has their own opinion and it's just as valid as the next guy's, that is, if you're being fair about it. There's no right or wrong in some field like psychology, but the heads beg to differ. It's all a clean, neat package of theories and ideas which have no divine or scientific foundation, so it's really no more true or advanced than anyone's opinion who has thought a subject through, but they insist presenting this knowledge as dogma when the truth is that a lot of it is pure crap. The truly wise people are natural intellectuals who figure out their lives on their own because they know they must from an invisible force within themselves. Then they continue to learn because that's what they were born to do. Why don't the colleges have a mandatory course for freshmen called Learning to Think for Yourself, where they tell people the outside world of all ideas that are not scientific or physical law were all created by people just like themselves? They should explore them and think about the ones they like, but always trust only themselves as to what constitutes knowledge or wisdom for them. I thought James Joyce's novel Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man was a good story about how the character Stephen Dedalus confronted and questioned the traditional Irish institutions he was brought up to believe in, to reject them all to live by his own standard. But James Joyce, the man, was a temperamental, arrogant drunk who couldn't get along with people, not even his wife. It's not like I'm gonna worship this guy and think he's got all the answers to life. The organic study of the physical brain in the field of psychology has true merit, but other than that, it's just a bunch of psychobabble that has no more validity than anyone thinking about their lives, even if they do those stupid so-called scientific, quantitative methods experiments that always have the same qualifiers in the results, using such adjectives as could, might, tend, possibly, may, which is useless knowledge because it's all either common sense or human behavior is much too erratic for anyone to accurately predict. Any individual living their lives in the real world, analyzing their experiences to come to their own conclusions, can become as enlightened as the most enlightened person who ever walked on the planet. But the formal education system is trying to tell you that they have the answers within their packaged courses. Just shell out your money and go there. Then after it's all done, you should realize, as I did, that they're all somebody else's ideas. They don't come close to what I intuitively feel about my life as lived day by day. When you reach that point where you trust yourself over all the institutions, talking heads and charlatans in the world, congratulations, you're enlightened. If you're still looking to someone else to give you some answers, like the priest at church every Sunday, you buy the latest self-help book hyped up on a talk show, or you're deeply interested in the ideas of others and give some of them godlike status by virtue of their credentials or position somewhere, you're still a lost soul. Mental health is fraud when they tell people they're screwed and need their drugs. If you ever reach enlightenment, you will have the wisdom to see that the social sciences are basically fantasies and lies created by mortal men with big egos who wanted to appear wise and superior, so they created these big fields of knowledge, shrouded them in quantitative research methods, which is a joke because human behavior cannot righteously be measured, did a bunch of so-called studies, created a bunch of journals, books, testing equipment, etc., and now pretend they have advanced knowledge of the human condition through the formal fields of establishment knowledge they created. But the truth and wisdom of human life is already in your free spirit. Self-analysis, psychobabble, therapy and counseling are all big money makers for so-called fields like mental health, psychology, and psychiatry. But has it ever occurred to any of these professionals that it's all bullshit? Live your life. Enjoy what you do every day. Why waste time analyzing yourself? Your life should be simple. Release the natural energy in your free spirit. What is normal behavior and what is mental illness? Everybody has their own values as to what is cool and right. There are absolute standards of morality. We call it the criminal code and the civil code for civil lawsuits. That's all anybody owes society. Don't break the laws and pay your own way. If you do that and you're a pervert in the privacy of your mind, as all men with normal levels of testosterone are, so what? That's your business. Some laws aren't based on morality and can be broken as a protest, but that's a matter for another discussion. The mental health industry fails because it encourages people to be pacified victim wimps, blaming their problem on something they supposedly can't control, like an organic brain defect, which is a pile of crap because you create your own biochemistry by how you live, what you do and how you think. Plus they can't drill a hole into your head, take a biopsy of your brain, then conclude with certainty that you were born with a defective brain, or something traumatic that happened in your past. Rather than saying screw all that crap, do the best you can day by day, minute by minute with what you got right now. If you don't have the strength to do that, you deserve a pathetic, loser life. The reason I'm so against the mental health industry is that there are very few people that actually have organic brain dysfunctions that they need professional medical and drug treatment for. The mental health industry didn't exist a century ago, and now we got supposedly 20% of the population taking drugs for depression and millions of kids being brainwashed to take Ritalin for some imaginary illness they have called ADHD. All these alleged mental illnesses they're coming up with, putting into their Bible called the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, were created by mortal human beings with creative minds, big egos, and a desire to make money by creating more mental illnesses in order to get more patients so that they can treat them. It's like asking a barber if you need a haircut. The barber always says yes because he wants to make money off you. It's no different in the mental health industry. They take common events that occur to most people sometimes, then blow them all out of proportion, calling them serious mental disorders, prescribing drugs and therapy for them. Everybody gets anxiety sometimes, everybody feels down, everybody feels shy or self-conscious in some situations, but it's all transient. You control your life by how you think and what you do. There are no big, fancy-assed, serious clinical mental illnesses, at least there weren't in caveman days, but somebody created them, and because they're system-sanctioned experts they get to put these labels on people, and most people are too stupid and brainwashed to realize it's a big con job. That's why I wrote this book. I think the mental health industry is mostly a con game except for the few people with bona fide organic brain injuries and the few born with genetic impairments in the brain. I'm tired of this credentialing business of system-sanctioned fake wise people. Anybody can go to school, take X number of low-level psychology courses, graduate, then get certified as a wise person supposedly with insights into the human condition, but the truth is that the field of psychology is a bust because they're trying to make it a science of human behavior using quantitative research methods, which means there's nothing intuitive, inspired or wise about it. There's no true wisdom there about the human condition or the human soul. People credentialed to be psychologists know a few low-level theories and therapies like behavior therapy, psychoanalysis, and Carl Rogers's listening therapy, but so what? It can't hold a candle to a wise person who feels the intuitive wisdom they were born with and uses it with empathy towards whoever they're dealing with. They have the ability to feel the other person's pain and understand their situation. A lot of people credentialed as psychologists are not tapped into this inherent intuition that some of us are born with. Take a look at some of our licensed psychologists and psychiatrists. We all have a built-in judgment system based on our own intuition that tells us how vital, balanced and relaxed someone is with just one look. A lot of these people do not look like stellar specimens of humanity even though they are supposedly our wise people. Over and above inherent intuition, a wise person is someone who has been through a number of life experiences and analyzed them to come to his or her own conclusions about how people operate. This is vastly superior to all the book-educated people masquerading as fake life experts with the job title of psychologist or some other form of therapist. When I went through graduate school in psychology, I was with some of the most introverted, sheepish, protected people around, and I was thinking to myself, these people are gonna be credentialed as our so-called wise people when they're a bunch of limited, timid sheep who don't know anything about the real world nor have ever been out of their comfort zones to try to do something original and inspired with their lives to discover who they are as individuals. You forget at least 50% of everything you learn within a year, so if it's not intuitive wisdom, it'll be gone after a few years. It's a con job to presume that if you learned something in school X number of years ago, first of all that it's valid knowledge just because it's taught at a university. Secondly, it's not there on the tip of your tongue anymore. It's long gone unless you relearn it. These so-called psychologists forget most of what they learned in school that's supposed to help them analyze people. The term psychologist has a much bigger intimidating factor than any so-called psychologist within the system could possibly have in real life, because they're all low-level clones going along with this packaged fake knowledge, not questioning any of it nor trying to think their own original thoughts and coming to their own individual insights about the human condition. If they did, they wouldn't go along with this charade. At some point in time, I left the field because it was too hypocritical for me. This book is about me trying to expose this big lie that most people have been brainwashed by, including myself before I got into the field of psychology. I thought that these people called psychologists, psychiatrists, psychotherapists, etc. had some advanced wisdom and insight about life that regular people didn't have, but when I got into it, I realized it's just another low-level paper chase of taking enough courses to get the required degrees with no mention of true wisdom or insight about the human condition to go along with it. It's just all a big money racket that has been internalized as a supposedly viable part of the medical system called the mental health field. 100 years ago, if you were feeling down or tense, you dealt with it yourself. Now they got these big institutions to treat depression and anxiety disorder. Whatever happened to the self-sufficient, independent individual who ran his or her own life, knew that nobody out there could possibly be wiser than him or her about it, and didn't buy into all this phony snake oil just because someone was wearing a white lab coat, had a few letters after their name, and was using big words out of a textbook. It's all the big smokescreen of the falsification of knowledge that exploded in the 20th century. We gave our power as individuals away to all these establishment institutions without questioning them. The humanists say self-actualize, but what does that mean? Self-analysis, psychobabble, therapy and counseling are all big money makers for so-called fields like mental health, psychology, and psychiatry, but has it ever occurred to any of these professionals that it's all bullshit? Live your life. Enjoy what you do every day. Why waste time analyzing yourself? Your life should be simple. Release the natural energy in your free spirit. I say you have a true nature. Discover it, then release most of that natural energy inside of you every day. Other people can give you a little tingle but cannot give you sustained happiness. The only way to get it is to be who you were born with, the natural inclination and potential to be. In my opinion, the modern pop culture capitalist world has destroyed most of the people who have weak spirits, which I think is almost everybody. Most people have been massively brainwashed to follow the artificial values of the world as their definition of what happiness and success is supposed to be. This goes all the way to monogamy, which is a joke because every man with normal levels of testosterone is a depraved slut in the privacy of his mind. Nature or God, whatever you believe in, endowed men to be eternally horny so they could impregnate as many women as possible to perpetuate the species, but I'm not here to talk about that. I cover it in my sex book. The conventional humanist psychobabblists say develop your personal potential in all aspects of life, but they're so vague. They throw out some grandiose theory like Abraham Maslow's theory of self-actualization and leave you hanging. What does that mean, to self-actualize? How do you reach your potential, day by day, one day at a time? It's easy for me. I know what my true nature is. I know who I was born to be. Every single day of my life, I spend most of my time doing the only things that inspire me, that release my free spirit to do what my God created me to do. They are physical activities and intellectual creative activities. I expend that natural energy to the point where I'm satisfied I honored myself today by being true to who I believe I was born to be. I call it my natural inherent standard of my life. All the psychobabble in the world is almost nothing next to this one absolute true fact of the human condition. For what it's worth, here's what the conventional psychobabblists say about peak performance and self-actualization. I got this straight from a self-actualization self-help type of book. Work to improve your skills at recognizing the emotions others are feeling by looking at their faces, voice, body language, etc. Develop emotional self-control. Stop acting on negative emotions like anger, envy, and hate. Study your inner emotional life. Study the emotional reactions of others to you. Learn and adjust your actions. Set goals. What motivates those goals? Is it a nobility within or money, power, and status? Do you ever hit a zone where you're flowing, feeling like you're doing what you were naturally born to do? You should hit this every day. Be on good terms with all people. Be friendly. Don't gossip. Don't argue. Most people are stuck on ego, not soul. Arguing just alienates them. They won't listen to you even if you're right. If you want love, be loving. Your power to express yourself, as in speaking and writing, is important to success. Think about whether you would prefer to be a leader or follower, then live like that. Don't stereotype people. Be open to everyone as an individual. Make a description of your personality including problems and flaws, then think about ways to change the bad parts. How do you define yourself? Are you happy like this? Discover things in your past that could be affecting you negatively today. Contemplate your life every day. Use reflectional review, which I talk about in my education book. You simply think about what happened to you during the day and use it to learn about life and plan the next day. A lot of people don't do this basic, simple thing that could greatly enhance your life. If you're addicted to tobacco, alcohol, drugs, food, shopping, etc., figure out why. Could it be because you are not living by your true nature, which means you betray yourself, so the addiction tries to temporarily mask that empty self-betrayal feeling? Make a list of your parenting style. Read books from number 649 at the library. Have you changed as you have gotten older? Are you one fixed essence that you're born with, or can you really change who you are by nature? The field of psychology seems to think you can change. I say the only way to change your true nature is through drugs, brain injury, or shock therapy. Develop techniques to improve your memory and thinking ability. Develop ways to think freely away from cultural brainwash. Practice creativity and original thinking. What mental illnesses have you ever experienced? What has led to these difficulties? Are you able to control them or do you need therapy? How can you improve your life? Be curious. Strive to understand the world and your place in it. Practice talking and writing about your life and ideas. Seek professional help if you feel overwhelmed by life. Do you want to be in charge of your own well-being and destiny? How do you do this? Have you been brainwashed to a standard of normalcy so much that you follow it while repressing who you really are? Every person must live out their lives alone in their heads, period. I cover human life from the point of view of one man alone, me, exploring my life freely away from everything I was ever brainwashed by. As a naive young man, I went to college looking for the answers to life. After at least 10 years of schooling in the so-called social sciences, my consciousness was still the same. I realized it's all fake knowledge. It's all someone's bullshit. There are a bunch of egomaniac introverted nerds all trying to come up with the next big idea in the study of life, but you can't study human life at all because every human being is a total loner that no one else will ever know or understand. Every human interaction is unique as it unfolds. They cannot teach you anything about how to live a better life. You have a true nature. That's all you will ever own. If you're enlightened and strong, you will discover it, then live by an inner standard, given by God or whatever created you, that inspires you to release all that natural energy inside of you every day. That's it. God or the natural creator gave you inner wisdom. The outside capitalist, materialistic world tries to detach us from who we really are by creating phony knowledge and experts for everything regarding human life, pretending it's formal, establishment authoritative knowledge that we plebeians should bow down to. It's massive mind control and almost everyone is brainwashed by it. There are no experts who have an advanced knowledge of people such that they can classify them into specific mental illness or education categories. There are no categories. People don't exist like that. There is just someone with a problem right here and now, and they either have a helping, loving, understanding friend or some cold asshole with some bullshit. The best a teacher or counselor can do is help someone find their true nature and live by it. The mental health drug industry is total fraud. Drugs do not solve human problems of existence and life, otherwise called the soul or the essence of a person. There's no mumbo-jumbo psychobabble about you possibly being an introvert or extrovert, at a certain stage in Kohlberg's stages of morality, or able to predict someone else's behavior because you read some study that concluded that most people act a certain way in a certain situation. So what? All that matters is what you're dealing with right now and your intuition and intelligence to deal with it the best way you can. My argument is not just that the social sciences are harmless BS, but they damage people because most people are brainwashed to believe that there are real mental health experts who know what's best for lost, forlorn souls, but they don't. And what's worse is how the drug companies have taken over the mental health industry. You got all these weak brainwashed wimps who don't want to take responsibility for their lives, so they line up to be diagnosed with some phony mental health disorder. Then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The truth is that everyone is a flow of consciousness that has the power to determine their moods and create their lives every moment, but many people choose to lie down and let the mental health industry put a label on them, give them some drugs, a bed, and take care of them. It's another sign of a sick society. I'm just another one of the voices of reason in an insane world. Every human being lives alone in their own head, known to no one but themselves. All human lives are solitary journeys. Nobody knows or will ever know what anyone else is thinking. Every human interaction in the world with another person or group of people is unique to those people and their moods at that moment. Because of all this, there is no such thing as a science of human behavior except as a big fiction that all the people in this field buy into, either because they're playing along to keep their job or they're truly brainwashed by this big deception that there's a science of human behavior with neatly defined categories of mental illness in their big book called the DSM/Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Do you believe you have a subconscious mind? If you answer yes, why? Because they drilled it into you in Psychology 101 as the cornerstone of the field of psychology, that we repress and hide 90% of who we are from ourselves. Why would any sane person hide anything from themselves? It's a great way for a so-called therapist to make money. Keep mulling over your past even though it doesn't mean a thing because you create your life as you live it. And that thing about dreams is a lie too. Sometimes I dream about whatever I'm thinking about and dealing with. My brain analyzes it while I sleep. It's called incubation. Sometimes I dream about things from my past. Sometimes I dream about totally ridiculous fantasies. In the grand scheme of things, dreams don't mean a thing. All that matters is my waking thoughts and actions. There's a multi-billion-dollar mental health industry infrastructure that goes all the way to the schools with that big ADHD scam and the billions of dollars they make from selling Ritalin. They even have infant mental health counselors now. We don't need clinical-sounding, unemotional academic dunces who try to act advanced and insist on putting everyone into one of their phony mental health categories. All we get at the best of times is two people interacting with each other. We need warm-hearted, feeling, compassionate people to deal with the lost, lonely, broken down souls, not this crap we got now where they stick a label on you right away, give you lots of drugs, give a lot of people who they say are depressed electroconvulsive therapy and just leave people sitting there either in a mental health ward or if they got money, they come in for hired friendship once a week at $100 or more an hour. It's all a big fraud. The problem is that almost everyone in society buys into it. This book sheds light on the big mental health industry deception and explains life as it is, just you and your true nature and whoever you're dealing with right now. That's it. All that stuff in those psychology textbooks and all those journals is a big bunch of junk, just like the kid in the fairy tale The Emperor's New Clothes pointed out that the emperor was wearing no clothes while all his bumbling advisors were pretending to admire them. The main formal establishment book which covers mental illnesses is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders /DSM, which probably won't be at your library, but you might find it at appi.org/products/DSM-manual-of-mental-disorders ? Quick links. Psychiatryonline.org, apa.org, psych.org, en.wikipedia.org/wiki/DSM-5_codes, mhreference.org/DSM-code/DSM-disorder, DSM-5.org. Try hashtag 362.20-362-26 or RA790.7 at the library for stories about how to deal with mental illness. The mental health section goes from hashtag 616.85-616.89 and RC435 to RC515 at the library. For a therapist, try your local phone book, local mental health center or psychologytoday.com, where there's a therapist icon at the top of the page. Find a therapist, find a psychiatrist, find a support group, find a treatment facility. Locator.apa.org is for a psychologist's search. Try apa.org, psych.org, socialpsychology.org, and psychologytoday.com for general information about mental health. Find magazines in a periodical directory at the library. Chapter 2. The Power of Massive Brainwash. Most people think there is a real science of the human spirit. Anti-psychology mental health. 100 years ago or so, no clearly defined mental illnesses existed. Now they got thick books with all kinds of specific mental illnesses, but I don't buy it. You are who you are, a unitary whole. You might feel depressed in the morning, grandiose in the afternoon, then histrionic at night. At best, these so-called illnesses are a rough guide to what you're going through. You're you. No other human being will ever know what you're thinking. No label can describe your unique set of circumstances and feelings, otherwise known as your life, yet we got an entire industry of phony experts pretending they know something deep and advanced about the human condition. The so-called mental health industry was created by several psychologists in the 1920s who wanted to market it like the medical industry to make money. Nowadays, the psychobablists are saying that the bulk of mental illnesses stem from a physical cause in the brain, implying it's beyond an individual's control and they can fix it with their drugs. The problem I have with this is that if all of a sudden somebody gets some biochemical imbalance that drags them down into the pit, why doesn't the opposite happen with average people all of a sudden getting some biochemical boost to become superhuman or elite human beings? It's a big marketing machine. Life is basic. Your thoughts determine your actions. If you're a weak, pathetic human being, it's got nothing to do with some supposed limitation in your organic brain. It's you as a weak human being. Just like you think yourself into a dark, negative place, you can think yourself out of it if you got the guts to do it. A lot of people are quirky or a bit weird. Some are self-centered brats behaving like spoiled children. A lot of people act like there's something wrong with them to avoid taking responsibility for their lives. It's a lot easier to pretend you have some formal mental illness called depression than to admit you're a sniveling, wimpy weak excuse for a human being, plus you get drugs that make you feel good. As far as I'm concerned, kick in the ass therapy works much better than all that bull going around with mental health drugs and psychotherapy, but it doesn't make much money, so all these so-called professionals in the mental health industry play out this grand scheme of pretending that there are definite specific mental disorders just like physical disorders that they can treat with drugs and therapy. A few people have real organic brain problems, but most are just weak, wimpy people who don't have the fortitude to try to live great lives no matter what they go through. I have contempt for all the people thinking they have some bona fide mental illness when it's really that they're weak, uninspired human beings who don't have what it takes to solve their problems on their own and thrive despite what they're going through. Another thing is these phony experts. They take 20 or 30 in graduate school that are all discreet and independent. They offer no intuitive knowledge about the human soul, just a bunch of bits and pieces of wisdom they supposedly got through their scientific studies. Why psychology is fiction? Every human being lives alone in their own heads, known to no one but themselves. The highest enlightenment that any human being can get to in life you too can get to, provided you're a person with some intelligence who thinks about his or her life to discover who they are, what they feel, what's inside of them. These two statements are true, so can this field of study help you, because after all your life is your unique journey. You have to figure out how to live the best way you can day after day alone in your head by analyzing your life. All anyone owns is their true nature. As a naive, young guy, I spent a number of years studying this stuff at college, acting like a wise guy because I thought I was smart because I knew all these theories, fancy words, and stuff like that, but I eventually realized my consciousness inside of me never changed once despite learning all this stuff. I had to confront myself every day when I woke up on how to best live my life. I concluded it's just me answering to my true nature, trying to live the best life I can by releasing all this natural energy inside of me day after day to match an inner standard that makes me feel good and earns me self-respect. If I don't do this, I betray myself. Most people in modern Western society have detached themselves from who they really in their true natures because society has brainwashed us to things like capitalism, coolness as defined by pop culture, religion, patriotism, etc. On top of this, phony intellectuals come in and say we have experts in these fields of study we call psychology, psychiatry, philosophy, sociology, etc., plus all the self-proclaimed self-help gurus that know about your life better than you know about it, and many people are stupid enough to buy into it, with the result being that they follow a bunch of artificial psychobabble, BS garbage, so they betray who they really are in their true natures. That's the big tragedy, we let ourselves buy into all this crap. Not one thing I ever learned from a psychology textbook or course ever helped me live a better life. Abraham Maslow talks about self-actualization and creates some ridiculous table called the hierarchy of needs. Okay, asshole, tell me how that's gonna help me live a good life day by day. I don't want some sweeping, general, flowery sounding bullshit. Tell me about sex. Why am I always horny? What should I do? What about my craving for high experiences? Are you gonna tell me don't do drugs to get high? What's wrong with pleasure? I should be a stoic noble person and live like a Spartan trying to self-actualize every day. What about orgasms and kicking back, feeling dreamy? What about getting drunk and dancing without self-consciousness? Isn't that a great part of being alive? I think that the fields of psychology and psychiatry are two of the biggest frauds of the 20th century, along with all that other stuff they call the social sciences. Every year multi-millions of students go to the many colleges around the world and take psychology courses. Some of them major in psychology. They would be better off analyzing their own lives, discovering their true natures away from society's brainwash than have the courage to live by who they really are rather than buy into society's BS about what life is. Why the so-called science of psychology is a bunch of phonies chasing their tails. I downloaded some psychology stuff and found this. I think it's a part of Philip Zimbardo's bio at socialpsychology.org. I remember him because he had a TV series talking about psychology a long time ago when I was a young psychology student before I figured out it was all bull. Human life and happiness is really very basic and simple, know your true nature and live by it. Check out this convoluted stuff. This is what they call wisdom. Quotes from Philip Zimbardo. Utilizing a paradigm of experimental psychopathology, we have focused on the central role of personally experienced significant discontinuities as triggering a search for understanding, to be rational and / or a search for social comparison with comparable others, to be normal. Those mental and situational searches are constrained by the operation of various biases that focus the search narrowly in specific domains and thus predispose to finding or confining what one is looking for. Rather than to be the objective, global, unbiased search of the scientific mind. I first developed a model of de-individuation that specified a set of input and output variables that predicted the triggering and consequences of this temporary state of suspended personal identity. Experimental and field research on vandalism and graffiti have generally supported this model. This research has broadened to include the psychology of terrorism. My dissertation pitted predictions from dissonance theory against the more rational expectations from Hovland and Sharif's judgment model of latitudes of acceptance and rejection and dissonance 1. Of all the research I have done, I am most proud of the set of studies conducted with my NYU graduate and undergraduate students that conceptualized dissonance phenomena as the cognitive control of motivation and demonstrated the power of this approach in a series of experimentally rigorous studies that used classic research paradigms on classical and instrumental conditioning, learned from another of my Yale mentors, Neil Miller. Be a hero, Zimbardo style. HeroicImagination.org. TED.com, YouTube.com, Zimbardo Good and Evil. LuciferEffect.com. Quotes I thought were funny. These were near the end at guidetopsychology.com/sex_love.htm. I read these and I thought they belong right here. This is why the entire field of psychology is bullshit. They take a simple common sense fact of life and shroud it with super piles of dung. There are too many assumptions like Freud's Oedipus complex, the boy hates the father and loves the mother. That's going way too far. I loved my father and mother. So does almost everyone else. I didn't compete with my father. He was the boss who I learned from. Jacques Lacan, God, and the Jouissance of Woman in Mitchell, J. and Rose, J. eds, Feminine Sexuality, Jacques Lacan and the École Freudienne. New York, W. W. Norton, 1985. Quotation from p. 141. That's right, the of the woman is crossed through, signifying that having been created in the fantasy of phallic sexuality, woman as an essence does not exist and that oneness with her is impossible. That's what Lacan means when he speaks of the absence of a sexual relation. No other person can make your psychologically broken life into something whole and complete. She has, in relation to what the phallic function designates of jouissance, a supplementary jouissance, a jouissance proper to her and of which she herself may know nothing, except that she experiences it, that much she does know. The root of the scopic drive is to be found entirely in the subject, in the fact that the subject sees himself in his sexual member. Whereas making oneself seen is indicated by an arrow that really comes back towards the subject, making oneself heard goes towards the other, pages 194 to 195. In any case, man cannot aim at being whole. The total personality is another of the deviant premises of modern psychotherapy, while ever the play of displacement and condensation to which he is doomed in the exercise of his functions marks his relation as subject to the signifier. In effect, as long as soul souls for soul, there is no sex in the affair. In persuading the other that he has that which may complement us, we assure ourselves of being able to continue to misunderstand precisely what we lack. Strictly speaking, the structure of perversion is an inverted effect of the fantasy. It is the subject who determines himself as object, in his encounter with the division of subjectivity, p. 185. The act of love is the polymorphous perversion of the male, in the case of the speaking being. The mystical is something serious, which a few people teach us about, and most often women or highly gifted people like St. John of the Cross, since when you are a male you don't have to put yourself on the side of lack and limitation. They sense that there must be a jouissance which goes beyond. That is what we call a mystic. It is clear that the essential testimony of the mystics is that they are experiencing it but know nothing about it. Technically, Lacan speaks of the symbolic phallus, and all it signifies in the symbolic realm of the psyche, in contrast to all interpersonal identifications in the imaginary realm. Chapter 3. These things called psychology, psychiatry, and mental health are massive frauds. The truth about psychology and mental health. The few enlightened people figure this out and go back to living by their true natures after they figure out this so-called civilized world we live in is a capitalist military academic pop culture religious matrix geared to control us. Be who you are the way you were born. Don't break any laws or hurt people, animals, or nature. Life is a constant flow of consciousness, not mechanical steps, stages, goals, or syndromes. You don't need 100,000 self-help books and an entire fake science of psychology to know that every human being lives alone in their own heads with their own true nature. The closest anyone will get to anyone else in life will still leave a big hole of existential loneliness no matter what. Nobody ever will understand even one other human being, yet these idiots pretend to have created a science of human behavior, and the sheeple follow like the fairy tale The Emperor's New Clothes. In order to feel really good, an inner accountability standard within your soul that tells you that you must release this natural energy inside of you every day to a worthy level. Almost everybody is brainwashed, living inside this matrix that the powers that be created rather than listening to this essence purely and freely, such that they constantly betray themselves by releasing artificial energy rather doing what they really want or were naturally born to do. It's like putting an elephant in a circus show. That's not natural. Sooner or later, some elephants rebel and kill people. Do you think working in an office on a schedule wearing a noose around your neck called a tie is natural? Do you think pretending to be a phony expert on life is natural, based on learning a bunch of BS in a brainwashing factory called a college without listening to your own intuition first? Every individual lives their lives alone in their own heads. If they can find one friend or kindred spirit who understands 10% of who they are, that's top-of-the-line intimacy with another human being, but most of us will be complete loners in superficial relationships with other people. We don't need phony experts to come in to say you got ADHD, you're antisocial, you have bipolar. God made everyone the way they are. That's normal for them. If there are a few psychotics and violent people in the bunch, we lock them up to keep everybody safe, but that's far as an enlightened Hunman race goes. They don't keep creating all this fake junk pretending it's adding to the knowledge and wisdom of understanding the human condition, which is the epidemic we have now with about 2,000 journals dedicated to psychology, almost every university with a psychology department. How deep can human life be? I try to release all my natural energy to feel good, and that includes sex and drugs and rock and roll. That's it. There's nothing deep about following my natural intuition to the best of my ability with the situation I'm in, as in not having enough money to do all the great things I want to do, but most things that inspire me and make me feel good cost very little money, so I always feel good as long as I keep running with my life, which is what life should be for everybody. Run with what you got to capture the spirit and intensity of this life force inside of you all the time. Unfortunately, most people have allowed themselves to get brainwashed by the artificial values of the world. Then when they feel like they betrayed themselves but don't know why, they go to some phony expert who gives them phony solutions to deal with the inner feelings of emptiness they got from not following their souls. These phony experts and the mental health drug companies make money, but nothing gets solved. Everybody stays brainwashed in their stupid little worlds. It's like the great Forrest Gump said, "Stupid is as stupid does." What exactly is there to study? They're so deep, deep as in covered with mange la marde. It's the biggest unsung fraud around. 10,000 or so universities around the world, each with a psychology department, supposedly doing psychological research, thousands of psychology conferences every year, one for every country, one for each subfield in many countries, and nobody has the guts to stand up and say, "You timid little assholes," all pretending to be doing something useful because you're too scared to tell the truth and see your phony academic departments disappear, which will never happen because nobody in a position of authority has got the guts to say, "Let's end this fraud." Mental health experts don't believe in a human soul, but everybody naturally lives by their own intuition that can't be measured. What about déjà vu or premonition? Simply a feeling of what is right and wrong, what I must do and what I must avoid. Just about everybody senses them at some point in their lives, but the phony field of psychology won't go near intuition, extrasensory, supernatural or paranormal perception. In mentalhealthamerica.net/r-history, it says, on February 19, 1909, Beers, along with philosopher William James and psychiatrist Adolf Meyer, embraced that future by creating the National Committee for Mental Hygiene, later the National Mental Health Association, and what we know today as the Mental Health America. These people had good intentions, but they failed because 1. They wanted to create the mental health industry to parallel the medical industry with clear, specific disorders/diseases, which you cannot do because everybody is a unique loner. 2. Money got into it, it became all about money. The more people you say are nuts or have mental problems in some way, the more money you make. 3. The drug companies pretend they can solve human mental misery with drugs. It's just like the novel Brave New World predicted, get everybody pacified on drugs so you can control them. Human mental misery is always an artifact of the individual human soul. We live artificial lives in this artificial society we have created for ourselves. Never forget that we are creatures of nature. We all have a pure, unique, true nature. Trust yourself in your life given by your God Creator. Don't let any asshole pretend they know something deep and advanced about life that you don't know. They could and should wipe out entire college social science departments and teach this alone, that you have inner wisdom given by your Creator. Discover it, know it, live by it day by day. You don't need anything else. Viktor Frankl said you cannot control all of life's circumstances, but you can control how you respond to them. This idea helped him survive during World War II. Anybody can use a soft friend from time to time, but that's far as it goes. There's no deep technology of the mind to help transform people. There is no natural biochemical deficit in the brain that somebody knows even exists, much less how to measure. You create your life as you live. That's the entire science of human life. People can only help themselves. Nobody can do anything to consistently improve your life because you live alone in your head. You have to do it. In an ideal world, just have a big generic counseling center in every big town called the Mental Health Community Center. If you feel down, depressed, crazy, weird, suicidal and want to talk to somebody, go ahead, talk, but there will be no categories, no diagnoses, no tests, just talk and practical, common sense help like food, shelter, showers, warmth, housing, friendship, love, coffee, pool tables, TV, job training, etc. The mental health industry leaders will never agree to do this because it represents loss of face to admit that their phony science is a big lie. A loss of massive amounts of money from wiping out this phony science with all those labels like narcissistic personality disorder. All those psychobablists should look in the mirror on that one. You're not a narcissist. You don't pretend to be an advanced intellectual with deep knowledge about the human condition when you're really a phony nerd brainwashed to think you have the goods on how to live a great life. If you really did, you would not be living this lie. When you peel all the BS away as to how much they actually know about people and help them versus how much they dazzle them with BS and drugs to take their money, the end result is like Dorothy discovering the Wizard of Oz is not an omnipotent powerful force but a bumbling old man, probably with good intentions but unable to do anything, hiding behind a curtain. I don't deny that many people getting into these professions think they are going to help people, but if you categorize people into any negative category, it just makes them feel worse and more helpless because they're just stupid victims who buy into all this bull and believe it. When someone says you have ADHD, you'll always be stupid, or that you can't help being depressed because you have a biochemical deficiency. The truth is that everyone creates their own moods and brain biochemistry through what they do and think. Psychology is a huge money maker for virtually every college in the world. They have big psychology departments with lots of useless courses for the naive students at several $100s a pop. Then when they're all done, they get a grade on a transcript and nothing more because the subject matter adds nothing to human enlightenment, which is to know your true nature and live by it. You got about 4,000 colleges and universities in the United States alone, almost everyone with a psychology department because it's an easy money maker. The naive students think there's cool stuff there and want psychology courses. At every one of these college psychology departments, you got 100 or so psychology majors and maybe 50 or so grad psychology students, each feeling like they have to come up with the next new big, original thing that explains the life of the human being. If you had seen some of the articles I've seen and the titles of some PhD dissertations, you would know they're long past splitting hairs 1,000 times or more. Go through some of those links in the psyche.com psychology website's part of this book. I can't read that stuff. My bullshit meter is geared for truth, so I can't get past the first 3 sentences. Young, naive people don't know any better. They think that all these older assholes wrote this stuff and this is what they're telling us where's it at, so this is the game. How many of them have a moment like the kid in the fairy tale The Emperor's New Clothes when they realize it's all a bunch of make-work bullshit? It's really insanity, this whole thing about pretending to constantly be learning more about the human condition while people starve every day. There's something wrong. People are starving somewhere, meanwhile other people have nothing better to do than to conduct absolutely meaningless psychology experiments. Nobody has got the guts to say this is insanity. Let's stop it and do something real. Don't listen to anything created by humans without critically analyzing it for its B.S. factor. Unfortunately, most people are too brainwashed to see past the big psychology sign that it's all meaningless info next to what's in a human soul. It's bad enough that we have thousands of universities around the world with psychology departments, millions of licensed psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors, and other mental health workers, the insurance companies and the criminal courts bowing down to this fraud, but now we have an explosion of unlicensed life coaches and self-help gurus all pretending they have deep knowledge about human life that they can use to help the less fortunate people who are not as wise as them for a fee. It's pure arrogance to me that these shameless people come forward selling all kinds of snake oil gimmicks about how to improve your life. I am what I am in my true nature. That's all I need. All anyone has is right now. Every situation is unique to the moment. None of that stuff in any of those psychobabble books can help you live a better life. It's just you and your consciousness moving in a flow. All that psychology stuff is one of the biggest scams of the 20th century, a bunch of empty theories and studies that have no bearing on real life, but a lot of people seem to pretend they do. All this psychobabble stuff is a massive cancer on the pure soul of humanity. They're trying to make the simplicity of human life much more complicated than it is. To me, it's evil because it's a big lie that messes with people's minds, filling them with junk rather than listening to what God or nature gave them in their souls. It's iatrogenesis too. Create a bunch of phony mental illnesses to make money off them. No one knows what anyone else is thinking, so you cannot create a science of human behavior. There is no perfect standard human being to use as a base to measure normality or sanity by. Everybody is their own psychedelic mishmash of consciousness known to no one but themselves. Most people act dull and normal, but I'm sure when they masturbate they get as slutty and multidimensional as I am, at least for a minute. I was a brainwashed kid who thought some people knew more about life than I did, but I was wrong. The genius of the mental health scam is that they got you coming and going. If you love your life and got boundless energy, they say you got mania, narcissistic personality disorder and overexercise disorder. Imagine some little nerd telling some vital person they got some stupid personality disorder. Everybody feels down, angry and alone at times. They're the moods of life, but these psychobabble nerds can twist a natural feeling and turn it into a negative mental health label. If you walk down the street anywhere in a city, people are trained to ignore other people. Does that mean they all have antisocial personality disorder? What if you think most people are scumbags underneath their social exteriors? Is that the truth or a mental illness? Should we be like Pollyanna or cautious old men? Psychobablists have fake power over many people who buy into this junk. It's a crime because it's accepted as an established institution in society. If you feel manic, according to them, there's something wrong with you. You have to feel dull and average. They can't have people feeling great. It would ruin business. This is Huxley's Brave New World right here, right now, putting people on mental health drugs to pacify them, having the power to tell me there's something wrong with me because some nerd said so. This is dangerous and evil. If you're an intuitive, sensitive person who feels their moods and lives them out, they say you're manic depressive. These things are a human being living life. They're not mental illnesses, but the fraudsters have to make money, so the more mental illnesses they create and the more suckers who fall for them, the richer they get. The best you can ever do is two people talking to each other. Hopefully one is good, caring, empathetic and intuitive about understanding the one who claims to have some kind of problem with living his or her life. Confused, weak people want people to be friendly and nice, not some phony academic hiding behind some label as an expert pretending to know deep advanced knowledge about the human condition. It's about love, compassion, and a human connection with anyone, especially a troubled person, not this crap we've degenerated to where some slimy asshole is sitting behind a desk acting like a wise person, putting a stupid label on someone then prescribing them drugs to try to pacify them. Unfortunately, there are a lot of weak, lonely people in modern society who can't get deep human contact any other way, so they become victims and play the mentally ill patient role to get pseudo-love. That's why they keep coming back, not because of any BS therapy, maybe because the drugs give them a buzz. I feel good most of the time but never feel lonely because I accept this life in my head alone forever no matter what I do. It's called existential loneliness. Everybody has it. I keep releasing my natural energy and life is fine because I accept life as it is, not as I want it to be in some fantasy of utopia. Many women are desperate for intimate love, so they do stupid things looking for it. Some men are too, even paying phony dating coaches on YouTube for advice. Why don't they look at loneliness as a cause of a lot of sadness rather than your past, which is meaningless? They're scared to because everybody's lonely, always alone in their own heads. If they said everybody has this mental illness of loneliness, people would start to see it's a big scam. What about financial insecurity? A friend of mine killed himself because he ran out of money and was unemployed. He had the pride to not beg for a handout. What if we gave everyone a modest home and a few $100 for food and bills a month? How much would the phony mental illness rates and the suicide rates go down? They don't ever cover this as a source of stress and mental illness, simple practical problems of shelter, food, and pride. It all has to be deep BS or some kind of biochemical imbalance which cannot be measured because that's how they make money. Mental illness has become a legitimate way for people who don't fit into the work paradigm of the capitalist world to get by. The truth is that the work paradigm is artificial. It's natural to do your own thing as a creative person, which we all are. Some of us are so creative and individual that we'll never fit into a job, so they say these people are mentally ill to take the stigma away from failing in a capitalist world, which is not really failure but society says it is. The biggest life problems are barely covered in their DSM. Poverty, worrying about money, financial desperation. The assholes of the world, like a bad boss, bully at school, rude family member, loudmouth, know-it-all, etc. Loneliness. Desperation for intimate love and closeness, either married or single. The desire for friendship. The desire for freedom and peace, to not be bothered by assholes. The desire for entertainment. The desire for inspiration, to feel alive, to do something great, noble, hard, aesthetic and ecstatic. Craving for sexual pleasure. Free-spiritism. I don't fit into this stupid world where I have to work some dull job to pay bills to kill my spirit. I will live by who I am in my true nature, not by society's rules of what is good and right. The desire for transcendence, to break away from average mundane consciousness, to feel aesthetically euphoric for a while. The biggest problem in life is not feeling on fire like you're riding your life, having fun, doing what you want, inspired all the time. People don't want to be cooped up in capitalist brainwash land, a part of which is mental health, psychology, psychiatry, psychobabble. They want to be free to be themselves and do what they really want. Most of them are stuck paying bills. That's the real problem, not enough money to do what I want. These are the real problems. People have not all this morbid crap the psychobabblist B-sirs created about something from your childhood blocking your growth. People don't want to grow. They want to feel good now. It's easy to do. Release what's in your spirit with gusto and intensity to the best of your ability. That's worth more than the billions of dollars they spend researching this stuff. They don't believe in a human soul, so they'll never get it. We're all just a ball of consciousness feeling life. Move, baby, move. Feel life flowing through your veins. Everybody wants a thrill, a release of the spirit and deep love. There's nothing much else. It's just a desire for something to feel alive, inspired, stimulated, not all the psychobabble about healing the wounded inner child. Do something really hard that makes you feel good rather than brood and analyze and keep doing it. Most mental health professionals are so brainwashed that they're quick to put a diagnostic label on someone then feed them drugs. People go to these professionals looking for a warm, friendly person to talk to. Instead they get drugs and a label. Most buy into it and get sucked into the system, playing along too. They call it self-fulfilling prophecy. Some phony expert says you're depressed, so you believe it and play the victim role. All that psychobabble about categories of mental illness, drugs, therapies, and even electroshock therapy is not just harmless smoke. It's dangerous. It screws people more than it helps them. A good person helps make another feel less alone in the world, gives them a little inspiration and strength, and tells them it's you alone, buddy. You either sail your own ship freely, boldly, and strongly, or whimper away into whatever destitute world you create in your mind. Everything else is someone's bullshit. I was watching a self-help, feel-good TV show out of Houston with phone callers. There were two so-called professionals dispensing advice. A woman calls in saying she feels depressed. The professional says, you have depression, get on an antidepressant drug and see a therapist. The truth is that she's a human being feeling down. There is no mental illness category for her. There is no biochemical imbalance in her brain. How could anyone possibly measure and discover a biochemical imbalance in the brain? You can't do it. It's a blatant lie. They pretend they have this advanced knowledge. People create their own biochemistry, which helps create their state of existence. They either create feel-good neurotransmitters by living large, or they do nothing and create nothing. It's just you alone. No other asshole can do anything for you. She needs love and understanding in that moment. That's it. You tell her she's responsible for her happiness, everybody's in the same boat, you either create your own happiness through what you do or you don't. There is nothing else from this phony field unless you want a part of your brain zapped with ECT, which will make it worse because it kills a part of your spirit, but they're doing it. I've seen people say they've been helped by ECT. Get real. They destroy a bunch of brain cells and you claim that helps you. It's like a lobotomy, helping someone become a pacified wimp lost soul. I'm angry that the world has been brainwashed by this phony mental health field perpetrating lies that destroy people's lives by convincing them that they fit into some negative label that is nothing more than a money machine for these phonies. There should be a big activist movement to end this stuff, but it's too entrenched into our matrix consciousness by now. Praise the wisdom of humanity for the few people wise enough to see through it. My ancestors worked the fields in Poland. I respect hard-working people who get up every day and move. It's a shame of humanity to degenerate to all this garbage victim psychobabble pretending we're advancing towards enlightenment. A certain part of the human soul is indivisible. It cannot be cut up. Move every day like a monkey and a tiger do by nature. Just read the titles of some of them academic journal articles sometimes. Are people that brainwashed that they think that some article with some title that no one can understand is actually going to help the progress of the human race to enlightenment? We already have enlightenment. Know your true nature and live by it for its own beauty and splendor. That's it. The artists tell us the truth way more than the psychobabblists. John Milton, the blind poet, said, "The mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven." Paradise Lost. Charles Dickens in A Tale of Two Cities said, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair, we had everything before us, we had nothing before us, we were all going direct to heaven, we were all going direct the other way." In short, the period was so far like the present period, that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only. He's telling us life is now. It's all you got. It's what you create. Neurolinguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuropsychopharmacology, political psychology, how about bullshit, bullshit, bullshit and more bullshit? Hans Christian Andersen had it all figured out in 1837 when he published The Emperor's New Clothes. The idiots will keep trying to dissect the human soul that is unique and holistic within every individual. You can't cut it up into little conditions, syndromes, disorders, etc. Almost everybody in these professions plays along pretending they have deep, advanced knowledge about human life. Most people are massively brainwashed by the system, so they're dazzled, thinking they have all these big buildings, college departments, textbooks, tests, etc. They must know more about my life than I do. No human being has ever penetrated the way another human being experiences life, so it's total madness to buy into stuff. They got you suckered no matter who you are. If you feel uncomfortable in a room full of strangers, which is normal, they call it agoraphobia. If you stand up for your rights, they now have some kind of aggressive oppositional defiant behavior disorder. You can't win. They can diagnose everybody with some mental disorder.